Well, shifting focus to West Asia now, Iran-backed Hamas, designated a terror outfit by the US and its allies, has signaled a major shift in its positioning on owning weapons. Hamas says it's ready to discuss freezing or storing its weapons as part of its ceasefire with Israel in Gaza. Hamas said the intention is to prevent further escalation and keep the fragile ceasefire stable. Well, the group said that it would not use its weapons, but it will retain what it called the right to resist.
Hamas is open to discuss such ideas within the context of a long-term ceasefire or truce, within the context of a political track which have to lead to a Palestinian state. But if not, okay, we are ready to discuss the idea of storing or freezing based on a total security arrangements, first of all, which keep the capability of Palestinians to defend themselves in case they are attacked.
The Israel-Hamas ceasefire remains in effect in Gaza since October. The truce halted a 2-year Israeli offensive in Gaza triggered by the Hamas-led October the 7th massacre in 2023. Well, since the truce took effect, both sides have exchanged Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners, with only the remains of one Israeli hostage still held in Gaza. Now, negotiators will turn to the thorniest issues: the deployment of an international security force, the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, the formation of a technocratic committee for governance, and the big one, disarmament of Hamas. But Hamas's offer over its weapons falls short of what the Trump-led peace plan actually demands. The plan states that Hamas members must decommission their weapons and commit to peaceful coexistence. US President Donald Trump has said that either Hamas must disarm itself or it will be disarmed by force. By contrast, Hamas's position frames weapons storage or freezing as temporary and conditional on progress towards a future Palestinian state.
But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes, you say
because
quickly.
you always, everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it? Okay.
Well, Hamas, whose top ranks were decimated in the Israeli offensive, now says it's ready for a 5 to 10-year truce, during which talks about weapons could proceed. But it says the International Stabilisation Force, expected early next year, must have limited duties, focused only on overseeing the ceasefire without any broader authority.
We are welcoming a UN force to be near the borders, supervising the ceasefire agreement, reporting about violations, preventing any kind of escalations, but we don't accept that these forces have any kind of mandates authorizing them to do or to be implemented inside the Palestinian territories.
And that raises fresh questions. Will Israel accept Hamas freezing its weapons instead of a full disarmament? And if it does, who will actually verify that Hamas has frozen its weapons? Countries, including Indonesia, have expressed a willingness to contribute troops, but the command structure, mandate, and rules of engagement for the stabilisation force remain undefined. And even with negotiations underway on the future of the truce, both Israel and Hamas are accusing each other of violating the ceasefire. Israel says Hamas has delayed hostage returns and that about 200 Hamas militants remain underground in Israeli-controlled parts of Gaza. At least 3 Israeli soldiers have been killed in clashes since the truce began. And Palestinian health officials, meanwhile, say more than 370 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes since the ceasefire. Israel insists these strikes were in response to Hamas violations, including attempts to move into the Israeli-held part of Gaza. Well, Hamas's new language on freezing or storing weapons does signal a shift, but not the full disarmament, which Israel deems non-negotiable. Phase 2 of the ceasefire now hinges on whether both sides can bridge that gap.
They promised glory. They delivered fear. They shaped nations. They scarred generations. From brutal purges to propaganda machines, from stolen power to violent falls from the throne. Welcome to The Dictator, a series that strips away the myth and then exposes the men behind the tyranny. History remembers their power. Firstpost reveals their truth.